Chapter 10.
Narcissa owls Harry at the end of April. Nothing found. It's taken her this long, nearly 3 months, to completely search the manor, investigating every item, every room, to make sure no possible time-turner hid within. If the time-turner had gone with Draco, rather than being left behind, surely Draco would have hidden it at the manor. Or the Renault Megane, but then Harry remembers it might not exist in whatever time era Draco is caught in. Regardless, he searches the Renault and finds nothing. The time-turner would need to be hidden extremely well to prevent it from being stolen or found by the wrong sort of person, but surely Draco would have left clues. Hermione tells Harry she's finalized the details of an extraction. That's what it's called, she explains. Rescuing someone from the past. An extraction. The process sounds complicated and involves some very difficult magic, but she's written it all up neatly, like a recipe, and says that at any moment, a team of unspeakables can carry it out. All they need is the time-turner. And it makes it worse, somehow, looking at a puzzle with just one piece missing. Harry drives a lot more these days. He drives along the coastlines of the country, he drives past the gritty skylines of cities and through the rolling hills of the countryside. He just drives. Like he's looking for something. And he can recognize the cyclical irony of the situation. In Incepto Finus Est, he thinks wryly. In the beginning is the end. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. And on the 2nd of May, the 8th anniversary of the Battle of Hogwarts, Harry finds the time-turner. The realization dawns the day before, on the first day of the month. It's a mild spring day. Summer is beginning to approach the land again. He can feel it like the distant glow of a fire. There's warmth in the breeze that stirs the leaves of the trees, and he thinks a drive to Cornwall sounds nice. In the soft glow of a warm spring day, Houston looks far more friendly and cheerful, and the coastline itself seems gentler. The waves seem less furious and more playful as they roil and roll around the base of the cliffs. There's a young family taking photographs of the lighthouse, the children giggling and chasing each other around in circles. Circles. Harry walks along the southwest coastal track. Maybe he'll just keep walking and one day he'll find himself back here again. Making circles, making meaningless patterns. Do you remember when we were 11? The familiar ache settles into Harry's heart. He knows that nostalgia well. Back when his biggest obstacles were homework and detentions. Back when the cruelest thing Draco ever did was throw a remembrall across the sky. A silver snitch. Harry stops. In the distance, he can still hear the children laughing. Closer to him is the soft sound of the waves breaking over the rocks. It's a 5-hour drive back to London, but he barely remembers the journey at all. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. He liked that silver snitch clasp. It was a gift from his father. Yes, of course Draco had told Narcissa that. The coded meaning now becomes clear as pristine glass. Do you know why he liked that clasp? He likes circles. Of course. In the beginning is the end. A time-turner. As soon as Harry enters his office, he goes straight for the file on his desk and opens it up. The photograph of Draco that Narcissa gave Harry so many months ago. Draco stares at Harry, his mouth small and serious, his eyes unblinking. The silver snitch clasp is neatly pinned to his robes. All this time, and it was right here. Right in front of him. But where would Draco have left it? The manor, of course, but they'd searched it so thoroughly, all the places they thought Draco was particularly fond of or liked to use as a storage place. In the beginning is the end. Harry's heart beats like a galloping thunderbolt. He slowly leaves his office and makes his way to the ministry atrium, lining up at the nearest fireplace. When it's his turn, he steps into the green flames. Diagon Alley. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Owls hoot softly. There's the smell of living creatures in the air. The rustle of feathers, the creak of sun-warmed wood. The smell of sawdust as the field mice nest in their cages. The shop is dark and enclosed, with overhead roosts dotted with owls and the walls lined with teetering boxes of pet supplies. The shopkeeper, when he sees Harry, looks at first astonished and then delighted. "Harry Potter," he says. "What an absolute honor." Harry had forgotten to disguise himself in his rush, but he couldn't particularly care now. "Where?" "Sorry, I have to find something," Harry says, and the shopkeeper blinks at him. "Draco came back here. It may have been 10, 20, 50 years ago, but Draco came back here and hid the clasp. Somewhere safe, but easy to access." Accio time turner, Harry tries, but nothing happens. The shopkeeper's eyes grow even wider. "There's a time turner in my shop?" Harry turns around, scanning the shop. "Draco, help me. Give me something, a memory, it's all I need." The bell chimes softly and Harry turns, half expecting to see Draco walk into the shop and speak. "I am in need of an owl." Speed is less important than accuracy. "Speed is less important than accuracy," Harry repeats, murmuring it to himself, trying to trigger something. "Anything." "I thought you were looking for a time turner?" The shopkeeper, at this point, is completely bewildered. "Well, our eagle owls have quite a sense of direction. They know exactly where to go, although they don't always return home. Rather difficult to tame." He laughs nervously. Harry doesn't smile, too wrapped up in his thoughts. Going away is easy. Coming home is hard. "Where are the eagle owls?" Harry demands. "Oh, we always keep them in the back corner. They can get a bit territorial, so it's best to keep them away from other birds." Harry lets the shopkeeper chatter on as he leads Harry over to the back corner of the shop. The owls are roosting along the wooden beams, blinking sleepily as Harry walks beneath them. There, on the underside of the beam, carved into the wood in tiny numbers, someone has written a set of coordinates. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Harry owls McGonagall that night, explaining the situation, and it's an agonizing wait until he receives a reply late the next afternoon. He immediately departs for Hogsmeade. Hagrid is the one to greet him there, hale as ever, stomping along and cheerfully calling out to the villagers. "Evenin', Pickerel," Hagrid says, nodding at a man carrying an oak barrel over one shoulder. "Evening, Hagrid." The man disappears into the 3 broomsticks. It never changes, Harry thinks. Even the gold lettering over the 3 broomsticks is the same. The same infinite chocolate fountain is in the Honey Duke's window, and the same hand-painted sign hangs over the doorway of the Hog's Head. Evidently, it's a Hogsmeade weekend for the Hogwarts students, a few of them lingering despite the setting sun. "Let's go to the Shrieking Shack. I heard it's haunted," a student says to their friend as they pass by. Yes, Harry thinks. It never changes. The trek to the castle is far shorter than Harry remembers. As Hagrid chatters happily about a nest of baby vampire hornets he's bred, Harry watches Hogwarts slowly emerge into view. His first home, he thinks, and a piece of his heart will always belong here, where he lived and died. He remembers Hagrid carrying him like a child from the forest. He glances at Hagrid, striding happily beside him, and has to smile. In the beginning is the end. Strange how Draco brought him to Hogwarts. Brought him home, in a way. When they enter the castle grounds, Hagrid pauses to consult the scrap of parchment Harry's given him, the coordinates scrawled untidily across it. Harry doesn't pause, however. He turns and begins walking to the Quidditch pitch. How do you know, Harry? Hagrid asks, following after him. Nearly got it, I reckon. He taps the parchment and fishes a small brass contraption from his pocket, opening it like a compass. Harry looks skyward, as if he'll see a remembrall arcing through the dusk-tinted sky, and waits. Maybe, if he half closes his eyes, he'll see 2 seekers chasing each other across the sky. Running on air. He smiles to himself. Hagrid, busy pacing about and muttering to himself, pauses and glances at him before pointing at the ground near his feet. There ya go, he says, and Harry walks over to him. Right here. According to this. Hagrid gives the brass contraption a shake. Harry points his wand at the soft, rain-damp earth. Deep down, even though he rolled ahead and received express permission from McGonagall, he's still half expecting her to come storming across the grounds and dock 20 points from Gryffindor for vandalizing the Quidditch pitch. But there's nobody here, just him and Hagrid, in the last rays of the evening light, and Harry takes a breath. Defodio. The soil carves itself out of the ground. It doesn't take long for Harry to spot a flash of silver. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Harry drops the clasp onto the middle of Hermione and Ron's dining table. Hermione stares at it, her eyes wide. "I can't believe you found it," she says. Ron sits opposite Harry, a mug of tea steaming in one hand. "How?" he asks. "Found it from coordinates Draco carved into a beam in the Owl Emporium." Ron stares at him, mouth agape. "Well," he says at last, "I take back everything I said about you being a terrible investigator, Harry." "We can do it, though, can't we?" Harry asks. "We can bring Draco back." Well... Hermione taps the clasp with her wand, and the transfiguration melts away, revealing a time turner. "Merlin," she whispers. "This is the last time turner. I wonder." "Focus, Hermione," Harry says sharply. "This isn't the time for intellectual curiosity. Can we bring Draco back?" She blinks and looks at him. "What?" "Oh, yes. The spells are very complicated, though, and it will take a few days. But Harry, you must understand two things. Firstly, it's not guaranteed to work. This is very unstable magic. I mean, it might even have some very detrimental side effects for Malfoy. Secondly, it might bring him back, but I don't know where. He might reappear at the manor, or in London somewhere, or even farther away. I don't care, as long as he's here. In this time." "Well..." Hermione reaches for the time turner and pockets it. "I'll contact the Unspeakables and I'll let you know when they've completed the spell." Harry opens his mouth, but Hermione beats him to it. "And no, you can't help. This is very tricky magic and you will most certainly make serious errors." He closes his mouth again. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Hermione gives him the news 3 days later. She flews to his apartment very late at night, looking rumpled. "It worked." "What?" Harry, making himself a cup of tea in the kitchen, nearly drops his mug. "The extraction worked." He doesn't know what to do. He wants to smile, laugh, cry with relief. He settles on hugging Hermione tightly. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. This is all your investigative work," she says warmly. "Draco's returned?" "I presume so. The spell indicated it was complete." "Where would he have appeared?" "I don't know, Harry, but I'm sure he'll turn up at the manor any second. Narcissa will let you know, won't she?" Harry nods, and after Hermione's left, he stays up all night waiting for something. A fire call from Narcissa, an owl from Astoria. But there is nothing. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. A week passes. Harry feels like someone is slowly squeezing his heart, suffocating him. He can't focus at work. He tries driving, but even that has become meaningless now. He's no longer searching. He remembers the last conversation he had with Draco. The worst thing is that even now, I'm not sure I want to come back. And that is the worst thing, Harry realizes. Draco could be anywhere right now, and the worst part is knowing that Draco doesn't want to be found. Harry can search all he wants, but he'll never find him. Only Draco can bring himself home. That night, he stands out on the balcony and listens to someone whistling "Blow the Wind" southerly, and he feels so angry with Draco that he wants to cry. But he doesn't. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The next day, Harry calls in sick to work. It's unusual for him, and even Holdsworth looks concerned, saying she hopes he'll feel better soon. He gets into the car and drives all the way out to Godric's Hollow, a 3-hour journey. He doesn't mind. Time and distance is all relative now. He looks at some of the properties for sale. There's a cottage on the outskirts of the village, but he's not immediately drawn to it. He'll know home when he sees it, he thinks. The journey back to London is slow, and it's 7 o'clock when he reaches the apartment. He parks the car, slowly walks up the stairs feeling insurmountably weary, and unlocks the door. The apartment is dark and the curtains open. He gazes across the kitchen, to the view beyond the balcony. He'll miss those trains, if nothing else. But then again, he only loved them because they were going places. A knock on the door. Ron will be there. Heard you were sick today, mate, and Hermione will be there too, looking sympathetic. He opens the door. Draco stands before him. Harry's breath catches. He doesn't know what he should say, what he should feel. He wants to be angry, snap questions, demand answers. He wants to ask Draco why. But he doesn't. He stands in the doorway, a hand still resting on the door handle, and he sees the exhaustion in Draco's face, the thinness in his shoulders, and he steps backwards. Draco opens his mouth, and Harry quickly cuts him off. It's all right. You don't need to explain anything, he says. I wasn't going to. Draco's voice sounds rough, hoarse, but it brings a rush of relief to Harry. Good. Draco steps inside then, and Harry closes the door. He doesn't know what to do. And it's ridiculous, but he's terrified of saying the wrong thing, of sending Draco straight back out that door. He wants to demand explanations and answers, yes, but now isn't the time. Draco looks so exhausted, like he's been through hell and back, and so Harry simply remains silent and waits. Draco stands in the middle of the room. It's the same, he says, surveying the apartment. What is? This place. I wondered if it would look different than to my earlier visits. Earlier visits. Harry wonders if that's an invitation to speak about the last 3 years, about Draco being trapped in the past, about everything that happened. No, he decides. Back in a minute, Harry says. He just needs a moment to collect himself, without Draco observing him. Draco frowns. Are you going to tell my mother? Or Astoria? No. Unless you want me to, Harry says, and Draco shakes his head. Not yet. Harry nods and leaves, and finally, in the privacy of his bedroom, he can bite his lip hard enough to taste blood, and sit on the edge of his bed with his head in his hands, his palms pressed against his eyes until he sees sparks. The anger is still there, but now a rush of sorrow is coursing through him, and there's confusion too, and worry and almost panic, and hidden in all of that is a hint of happiness and relief. He takes a slow, deep breath and stands, taking another moment to compose himself before returning to the kitchen. Draco's made himself a cup of tea, Harry sees, and somehow it's reassuring. He looks so tired, Harry thinks, studying Draco, and then he realizes that if Draco's not planning on contacting his mother or ex-wife yet, he's probably planning on staying the night here. I'll make up the bed in the guest room, Harry offers, wondering if he's mistaken and Draco's planning to leave. But Draco just nods and Harry disappears into the guest room and takes a stack of clean linen from the dresser. The room is quite small, with a single bed and a matching bedside table. The dresser is currently in use as linen closet of sorts, and one of the drawers is crammed full of old Quidditch gear that Ginny clearly forgot. Still, Harry doesn't think Draco will complain. And he doesn't. He walks into the room, surveys it for a moment, sets a glass of water on the dresser, and sits on the edge of the bed. Harry takes it as his cue to leave. Let me know if you need anything, he says, wishing Draco had at least helped himself to the pantry. He looks desperately in need of a good meal or two. Draco nods. Harry pauses for a moment, then shuts the door and turns off the kitchen lights before going to bed. He can't sleep. He tosses and turns, trying to wrap his head around the fact that Draco is here. In this same apartment, just a few steps along the hallway. Some part of him is saying it's a dream. Nothing but a dream, and when he wakes in the morning, Draco will be gone. How many times has he imagined Draco coming home? Home. It was so much easier when Draco was nothing but an insignificant memory of a selfish, petty teenager. Long ago, when Harry read headlines about Draco missing and threw the paper away without another thought. When he loved Ginny, when he had his whole career ahead of him, when Draco Malfoy was nothing but a footnote in the pages of Harry's life. And now, things fall apart. He's having serious doubts about his career. He drifted so far apart from Ginny that 7 years together crumbled like cliffs into the sea, and all those nights spent driving. The memories wash over him like waves, a shop door swinging open. Speed is less important than accuracy, a wedding ring spinning across the floor. The first time Harry saw the Renault Megane, what's the point in that? Sitting in a box, only going where someone else takes you, the fields rushing past in a weave of summer-spun gold. The long nights spent reading old Hogwarts textbooks, the handwritten notes like lonely postcards. Spell didn't work when attempted to cast on self. The Cornish coastline rises like a ghost to greet Harry, and he can hear the winds blowing southerly through craggy cliffs, rushing along endless highways, whistling through the chains of empty swings in empty playgrounds. And somewhere between here and the southernmost point of Great Britain, somewhere between now and the past, somewhere between I am in need of an owl and do you remember when we were 11? Somewhere between standing still and running on air, Harry started to feel something for Draco. Affection, maybe even attraction. And it's a dizzying, devastating realization, but he can't avoid it. Even now, Draco's voice whispers through his mind like snow. Going away is easy. Coming home is hard. Maybe home isn't a place. Maybe it's a person. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Harry wakes up the next morning. Saturday, he realizes after panicking for a moment and thinking he's running late for work. There's a voice calling from the kitchen. Hermione. She must have fled here. Give me a second, Harry calls back, dressing quickly in yesterday's clothes. He half hops into the kitchen, still putting socks on. Hermione's already rummaging through his cupboards, searching for tea bags. Still asleep? It's nearly noon, Hermione says. Ron says you weren't at work yesterday. You know, the last thing you need is to get sick. You've been so stressed lately, Harry, and I know things have been very difficult, especially with Malfoy's case. Harry starts, then thanks Merlin that Hermione's still turned away from him. He doesn't know why, but somehow he knows he shouldn't say anything. Draco had made it clear that he didn't want to contact anyone else just yet, and Harry, if he's to be honest with himself, feels rather protective about the entire matter. If Draco doesn't want anyone to know yet, then they won't. But you really need to focus on other things, Hermione says, fetching 2 mugs and tapping her wand against the teapot, warming the water. Harry, I know you don't want to hear this, but... She looks at him with a gentle expression. Sometimes, even after we've done everything we can, things still don't work out. Sometimes we have to let go. I know, Harry says, and Hermione blinks at him. Do you? She absently rearranges the tea bags. I know you've been rather obsessed with this case, Harry, and everyone can see it's taken its toll on you. Just promise me you'll rest, all right? Right. Hermione quirks an eyebrow. Is everything all right? Fine. Harry tries to smile. Where's Ron? Oh, he promised Molly he'd help clear out the brew shed, so, that's another reason I'm here. Ginny mentioned she'd forgotten to grab her old Quidditch stuff, and I said I could pick it up for her. Hermione set her mug on the counter and is heading towards the spare room before Harry can utter a single response. Don't, he says, just as she opens the door and strides inside. Said it was in the dresser, Hermione says conversationally, and Harry quickens his pace until he's standing in the room. Empty. The bed is neatly made, the bedside table covered with a thin layer of dust. Hermione is rummaging through the dresser. Oh, here it is. She casually taps her wand against the various Quidditch items until they're reduced to pocket-sized pieces. Well, I'd better be off. I just wanted to pop in to check that everything was all right. I'd love to stay, but I promised Ron I'd meet him at the Burrow for lunch. "You're quite welcome to come along," Hermione adds, waiting expectantly, and it takes Harry a moment to respond. No. I want some time alone?" Hermione asks. "It's all right. Just take care of yourself." She stands up and walks from the room. Harry remains there for a long moment, staring at the white walls and dusty furniture. He's only dimly aware of Hermione still speaking to him, and it takes much effort for him to walk out of the room and go through the motions of farewelling Hermione. She gives him a suspicious look before she leaves. "I can see you're still worried about him, Harry," she says accusingly. "You look awful. Promise me you'll do your best to relax and take a break, all right? Look after yourself. Go for a drive, you've been enjoying that lately. And I know it's very unmanly and everything, heaven forbid, but please talk to me or Ron if you need to." She hugs him briefly and then steps into the fireplace, flewing away. Harry stands alone in the empty apartment, the silence seeming to ring out around him like ripples. A few minutes later, when he reaches for the Renault keycard, always kept on the corner of the kitchen counter, he realizes it's gone. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Harry opens the door to the underground parking. It's a bright and sunny afternoon, the weather delightfully mild, and most of the residents have already left, off to enjoy a lazy Saturday with family or friends. The car park is nearly empty, but the Renault Megane is still there. Harry walks towards it. As he walks closer, he can see the faint outline of someone sitting in the driver's seat. He puts a hand on the passenger side handle and opens the door, pausing a moment before getting in and shutting the door again. Draco sits in the driver's seat, looking straight ahead as if there's an open road in front of them instead of a concrete wall. His hands rest on the steering wheel. He doesn't speak, and Harry lets the silence envelope them. It feels terribly strange, somehow disorientating, to sit on the passenger side after so many months being the sole driver. Draco won't say anything, Harry thinks, glancing at him. Always compartmentalizing, always in perfect control. The only time he ever let Harry inside his head and heart was when he thought he'd be stuck in the past forever. Harry will need to choose his words carefully, or he has the feeling this moment between them could shatter like glass and send Draco away forever. "We could go anywhere," Harry says quietly. And he knows it was the perfect thing to say, because Draco's mouth twitches and he almost smiles. "Anywhere? Anywhere." Another short silence. Draco inhales slowly, then presses the ignition button. The engine purrs to life and Draco's breath catches. Harry wants to say something, but he recognizes the moment doesn't belong to him. Draco adjusts the mirrors. "I see you've been rearranging things, Potter," he says coolly, but Harry isn't bothered. He can see the faint tremble in Draco's hands, the way Draco hides his nerves by looking at the fuel gauge, checking the mirrors, readjusting his grip on the steering wheel. At last, he releases the handbrake. "Go," Harry wants to say. "Drive." But he holds his tongue. Draco shifts the gear into reverse. His eyes flick to the mirror again, and the movement is so familiar that Harry has to look away to hide his smile. Are we getting closer, or just getting lost? It doesn't matter, Harry thinks. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Draco drives. It's almost terrifying because Draco's so damn decisive. When he sees a yellow light, he hits the accelerator. When he steers around a corner, he only slows down minimally. When he stops at the lights, he stops very close to the next car. He maintains the speed limit precisely and never pauses, even when a car swerves in front of them unexpectedly. Draco simply steers smoothly to the right and eases off the accelerator slightly. Harry ends up with a white-knuckled grip on the edges of his seat, leaning far back and biting his lip to stop from rebuking Draco. "Careful, look out, why don't you let me drive? Stop panicking, Potter." Harry glances across at Draco. "I'm not panicking." He pauses. "It has been 3 years since you last drove, though. Maybe you should. There's a car in front of us. It's slowing down for that red light. I'd hope you know. He can't help the feeling of panic. I know. Draco eases the car to stop. You're lucky you didn't hit them. It's not luck. It's precision. I know exactly when to stop, exactly how much to slow down, exactly when to turn. Don't mistake my confidence for recklessness. Harry, to his despair, realizes he never finds Draco more interesting than when he's calmly delivering a lecture, his level tone belied by the fierceness in his eyes. Harry glances away, and after a long moment, Draco leans across to the glove box and, without ever looking away from the road, opens it and removes the atlas, handing it to Harry. What? Harry asks, uncomprehending for a moment. Find somewhere. Where? Anywhere. Draw a line on the map and I'll take us there. Harry opens the atlas at a random page. We're going to Sutton-on-Sea. He flips back to the pages of outer London, trying to figure out the best route, focusing on the task of navigation. Point me. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. They're burning down the A120, the bright skyline of London, silhouetted sharply against the pale blue sky, disappearing in the rear vision mirror. The suburbs sprawl around them as Draco drives on into the clear spring day. Then the suburbs are melting away to gentle valleys and rolling hills, and Harry maps the land before him, fingers following the unraveling threads of rivers and the wide green swathes of woodland. They stop in Huntingdon to refill the fuel tank and have a break. Draco leans on the side of the car and looks up at the sky. Harry reads a nearby sign declaring Huntingdon the birthplace of Oliver Cromwell. It's interesting, Draco says, to openly advertise their town as the birthplace of a dictator. Well, some people think he was a hero. Harry looks at the sign. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, as they say. They get back in the car. Harry watches the world roll past, and it reminds him of his memories, scenery constructed around him, only to vanish again a moment later. Rebuild, dissolve. The scenes collapse and fade like waves breaking on the shore. Harry falls asleep somewhere between Alderkirk and Wyburton, just as they cross a river. River and the sky, he thinks just before he falls asleep. An endless circle. In incepto finis est.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!